what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Welcome to I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House. I am Pat House, and on this podcast I will talk to mostly comedians, but probably some musicians and other creative people as well about their early influences, what got them to where they are today, and when they had their I Guess I'll Do It moment where they decided to dive into their creative endeavor. So thank you for listening, and here we go. Welcome to I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House, and on this episode I have my former roommate, who I've seen with long hair and a broken leg, Ryan Connor.
Welcome, or thank you.
No, I welcome you, and you are welcome. That is very true. You are welcome to be here. Thank you for being a guest, man. I appreciate it. It's been a while, and we're doing this cross-country, but thank you for doing it. Happy to have you. And, this is going to be so short and simple, but all I want to know about is what got you into it. You and I have had a million comedy discussions over the years, but
What got me into the Pat House project, or
into the Matrix. So tell us a little bit just about your very beginnings. You started. Well, you're from Virginia.
Can I ask you a question first? How long was my hair when we were?
You were pretty shaggy. Like
really?
It was, because I saw you. I had just started. You opened for Mike Birbiglia at Helium, and you just looked like a wet dog. No.
So my hair was the longest it had been in years. Yesterday, or no, until Wednesday. Didn't get a haircut in like 2.5 months, and it was so long. I got a haircut on Monday. I wish you could have. So I think I know what era you were talking about. So
that had to have been like, honestly, 05, 06.
Oh yeah, we were pushing shoulder length at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember you being very funny. And then, we ended up living together in Hoboken a couple years later. But you started in.
Tell them how funny I was, Pat. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not the point of this podcast. I don't want to lie to these people either. So, yeah, man, just take us back to your beginning. Like, what was even before you started? What was your early interest in comedy, or specifically just stand-up comedy?
Well, it's easy to say I didn't want a real job, but I guess that's not the real answer. So before, like as a kid, I watched stand up, Evening at the Improv, Comic View, Def Comedy Jam. Anytime stand up was on TV, I watched it. Just ate it all up. Did not. I mean, there were people I liked more than others, but if someone was talking to a microphone, I loved it. It didn't matter how bad it was in retrospect.
I mean, when you're that young, you don't know what's good and bad yet. So if anybody's like remotely entertaining on stage, you're automatically intrigued.
Yeah, you're responding to people's cadences half the time.
Absolutely, and even if it's on television, if other people are laughing, when you're so naive to it, you're naturally inclined to laugh as well.
Yeah. And then the first comic that I think I fully resonated with was probably Chris Rock. Was the first guy I was a huge fan of. And then Hedberg.
Yeah.
I remember just seeing, look, I mean, if you look here, I mean, you know me, you know this thing. This Hedberg.
That was in your
Yeah, so we can get to that if you want in the story, this Hedberg thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But I love Chris Rock, but it never gave me an itch to perform. I was also such a shy kid. I remember sitting in my dorm though and seeing a teaser for Hedberg's Comedy Central special, and I was just like, "Who is this guy?" Like, It was just so different. People compare him to Stephen Wright, but it's not. It's so different from Stephen Wright.
It is different, and also I hope I could be wrong here. Doesn't he, like, for our term here, doesn't he bomb on that half hour? Like, it's not a good special. Right?
It's far. Well. So there's two specials.
What was aired? Because there's other clips, right, where he starts crushing, but it took him like 20 or 25 minutes to win that crowd over.
Yeah, he
correct?
does
Okay, okay.
he does all of his special jokes, and then he goes and sits down, and
He sits down. Yep, yep, right
he
in the
sits
middle of the
down, and he
stage.
was like, I'm still getting this what the fuck's up with this guy vibe from you, and I've done my whole special. He's like, I'm not leaving on this. So he just starts doing all these old jokes and
Yep.
crushes for another 25 minutes. And then I can't remember what aired because I think they just pieced different parts together. But
Yeah, I
like
know it's
Smacky the
on YouTube.
Frog,
I just don't
yeah,
know, like, yeah, I know I've seen it on YouTube, but I don't know if they show his whole special and then
yeah.
when he starts crushing. But the one that aired, like, really wasn't that great, if I
The
remember
jokes are.
correctly.
The jokes are just the
The
reception.
jokes are just the crowd
It's just the
response.
reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God, man, he's just insane. Like,
Oh my god,
just a
absolutely.
different kind of thinking, man. Like the Smacky the Frog joke. It's like, where does this come from? And and an escalator. Oh,
Can
not
only
well. An escalator can
only become stairs.
only become
Yeah.
stairs.
Uh,
Sorry for the inconvenience, or
yeah.
sorry for the convenience.
Convenience.
Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm fucking everything up because what I'm doing is I'm combining two jokes and I'm conflating
Oh
two things.
no.
The other one was if you're. I was standing in front of the stairs and someone said you have to move because it's a fire hazard. As if there was a fire, I wouldn't move. It's like if you are flammable and have legs, you are never blocking a fire exit. That's like
That's
the greatest joke
yep.
ever.
So I mean, I briefly mentioned in my episode where I tell my first story about getting started. Mitch Hedberg was on the show where I said to myself, "This is where I want to try this. Like, I absolutely just have to try."
Birbiglia Geraldo.
No, Hedberg, Birbiglia, Attell, Lewis Black,
Oh yeah.
and Birbiglia hosted, and Mitch was essentially the feature because Attell and Lewis Black were co-headlining, but he was on that show where I was just like, I have to try this. I don't care if I do it once or do it twice. I just have to try this. And Mitch like murdered beyond murdered that night. So what was the moment where you were like, I want to try this? Did you see somebody live or on TV where you
Oh
had the thought
man,
where you were like, you know what? I just want to try it. Just want to take
it,
my
it's hard to put a moment on it because like I didn't see myself doing it. Like I was younger, they were like gods.
How old were you when you started?
And it was like you can't attain that. I guess I was 22. I was like a year and a half out of college. But I wanted to do it for years before. In high school, I never really made any moves toward it, but starting my sophomore year in college. So when I was like 18, I started writing stand up and I didn't perform for 4 years. So when I started, I had like an hour of material written.
You kind of in the
I mean,
same boat. Kind of in the same
yeah,
boat. Yeah, man. I started writing it like
yeah,
16 or 15 and
yeah.
didn't do it till I was like 19, but I had half a notebook worth of horrendous ideas that I took 3 years of ideas and then made that into like 3.5 minutes 4 years later or something
Minutes.
like
Yeah, so I got lucky and was able to pare mine down. But so here's the deal. So in college, I worked. I'm sorry. I wanted to be a TV writer or a TV or film, and I had all these ideas that wouldn't work for those. So they were just kind of standalone things, and I was like, man, these kind of work as stand-up ideas, and I fleshed them out. Didn't show them to anyone until I showed my friend Quincy, who you're also a former roommate,
absolutely.
my senior year in college, and he was like, "Oh man, you got to get on stage." I was like, "Fuck, man, I'm not talking in front of a group of people." So we started going to this open mic at this place, Wiseacres, on our breaks, and then once we graduated, we were there. It was either Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember. I think it was Wednesday, but every single week, just watching. And then finally, it was like, "All right, I can do this," you know. So we sign up. About three friends came to watch me, and it went very well. Um, and then I went back the next week. It went just okay.
The downgrade.
Yeah, it's still like I've listened back to the set, and it's really just one joke didn't work. So like I didn't
You still
realize that
have it.
I didn't realize, and I did completely different jokes, but I didn't realize that you're not supposed to kill all the time because I'd never done it before.
Mm.
And then the comic who went after me, I've never actually told anyone this.
Oh my
But the
God! Please let
but
the dozen hear it.
the comic who went after me made fun of me for my, because I was nervous on stage.
What did they say? You
Uh,
got roasted your second set. We got to.
yeah, because like he called me Ryan Hedberg, and my jokes were nothing like Hedberg. It was just I was fucking nervous and looking down.
Oh.
My jokes were nothing like I was talking about politics that whole set, and
Who would make their politics hard to reach? Do you think
so
you were a little
anyway,
more influenced than you realized? Like, do you think you maybe were a little Hedbergy
no,
at the time, or?
I don't. I mean, not my writing. Maybe my delivery, but
Mm-hmm.
only in that show because my first show it wasn't. My first show was full of confidence.
Man,
My
you
second
came
show,
out the
I
gate.
was second show I was shrinking. So I was yeah. So that anyway, I didn't perform again for a year because that devastated me.
So 2 sets and then a solid breather.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I can't. It's like people just talk shit about you for no reason, and then I did pretty well. I did get some vindication when after his set he tried to go off the other opposite side of the stage, and there was a chair on the other side of the curtain, and he tripped and did a complete flip. And we became friends later. He's a great guy. It was just kind of a ball busting atmosphere there. But it's like it's weird to bust someone's balls when you don't know them.
Yeah,
So
of course, especially and also, if somebody's trying it for the first or second time, or even, when they're just brand new,
yeah,
it's so easy to shake somebody's confidence to the point of where they don't return for a year.
yeah, and also when you're new, you're gonna have your crutches, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical or what.
Yeah, you don't know what
Um,
you're doing. I still don't know what I'm
I
doing.
was just nervous as shit. So I mean, like he didn't know. I didn't eat for like 3 days leading up to the show. I was so nervous. So he doesn't know that, and then when he, and then I feel like he's coming after me. Then it's just like Jesus, that's what this world is. So then I didn't do it, and then I worked this awful corporate job where I tried to get them to fire me and they wouldn't. So I had to quit like an adult, and then I start working at I start working at the DC Improv doing like doing their website and promotions and marketing and stuff, and then I'm getting to see the greatest every
Oh
night.
my god.
This is when Regan's doing Regan and Gaffigan and Attell, Jake Johansson. Those guys are there every 6 months. So I'm working there for the first 5 months. I had done stand up. I'd done some improv, and then kind of checked out of that. It was not for me. I don't want to shit on improv here, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So then someone who ended up becoming a close friend, Erin Conroy, she's waiting tables there as her second job, and I
She was a
waited
server
tables
there?
there. Yeah, that's how we
Dude,
know each other.
I had no
Yeah.
idea. I mean, I know her through you, and we're not
hmm
like, we're
hmm
buddies enough to just say hey, but I had no idea she was a server there. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of continuing my, I was too shy to talk to people kind of deal. I'd wait tables 1, 2 nights a week. Didn't really know anyone outside the people who worked there in the day who were the managers and owners, and it's like I'm comfortable in small social settings, but when it's big and a lot of people going around, I just kind of stick to myself and quiet.
Yeah.
So that night she's like, I'm hosting the show, Danny O'Brien's next Monday, and she's not talking to me, she's talking to someone else. She's like, I need one more comic, and I go, I'll do it. And she goes, what? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. She's like, I've never heard you speak before. And I said, yeah, well, let me do it. She's like, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And she goes, you're going to do 8 minutes? And I said, yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, I'm nervous as hell
That
from
was
that.
the first set after the break.
Yeah, this is on a Wednesday. We were talking. My show's on the next Monday. From Friday to Monday, I don't eat. It was like, I believe it was August 1st or 2nd, 2013. And I did so much preparation with the material. I was so nervous. This girl I'd gone on a couple or maybe 3 or 4 dates with until she asked me to tell her about my faith. That happened a couple days after this.
Yeah.
she uh I'm at her place before. I'm really nervous, and she goes, take this, and gives me a pill that was started a trend of people saying take this and me just swallowing it before I ask what it is.
Oh, that's
I guess yeah, I guess it was Xanax or something. Anyway, I was loose and comfortable. I go on stage that night, and it went the way you'd want it to go, to put it in a, you know, it was a packed bar, and it went really well. And then after my set, I got asked to do my first paid gig that
nice.
weekend, and then it just cascaded from there. And I got really lucky. People put me in the right places at the right time, whether I don't know if it was coincidence or people looking out for me, but I just had a lot of good fortune early, so I was able to start really doing, sets right out of the gate. And then because of those 4 years of writing without performing, I had this huge backlog of material. So I started featuring at clubs after like 4 months.
Which is very rare.
Yeah, it was kind of, in retrospect, it's kind of nuts.
Kind of, because I mean, you may have an arsenal of material, but your skill set. I mean, I'm not saying you, but in general,
in
your skill
general,
set isn't there. Yeah, you haven't
in
taken
general,
enough beatings to know how to handle 20 to 25
yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
I mean, that's certain. That's the truth. I mean, because
Well, when you clarified minutes, were you just differentiating from like a gangbang? What other
no,
things would you take 20
I
to
was
25 or something?
clarifying that for the listener who doesn't know
Oh,
that that's the amount of time when you're in the middle spot. Uh,
gotcha. 2025 minutes, not
because
not a
because
train of men.
because in my opinion, you have to take your beatings incrementally. You bomb at open mics, you bomb in a guest set, you have a couple bad guest sets, you have a couple bad hosting sets, you have a couple rough feature sets, and then you're like, okay, so if it doesn't go off for 20 minutes,
Yeah,
I'll live. So you take your beatings, incrementally.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But then your growth, I think, happens instantaneously.
There are certain levels of confidence where you're absolutely like, well, I don't care
Yeah,
anymore. I'll live. I actually posted
yeah,
about this because Cap City in Austin closed, and I headlined. There was my first headlining spot on the road, and I didn't bomb for 45, but it was a rough 45. And then I came off stage, and I was like, I survived. I had enough rough sets. This was just a rough set for longer, but it was
yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah,
It was more like comfort and confidence than being like, oh man, that sucked. It's like, holy shit, that's okay. That's okay. I
yeah,
can survive
yeah,
that again. Uh,
yeah.
Now,
I
when
can,
you
I
did
can.
your, oh,
Mhm.
okay, good. You go. You
No,
go.
I was gonna say I can tell you exact moments where I remember like these growths that might resonate with other comics.
Absolutely.
One was I guess I was like 2 months in, and I did 20 for the first time, which is wild in retrospect that someone did that, gave me that time. And it was a nice packed room, and which is also a benefit when you perform it for a packed room. It's a lot easier than an empty one
Yeah.
because it won't shake your confidence because you're getting something. But I just remember like looking down at my phone at 15, and I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like I'm fine to get to 20 because I know these jokes. Um, and then I got there, and then I'll tell you three others. And let me just tell you, this is how I amassed so much material in a short time. And I think this is a trick that everyone should use when you're trying to do that. You're trying to amass and tighten material. Every Sunday, I would have ten brand new minutes. Okay, aside
Hmm.
from my opener, so maybe 9 new minutes. I would open on something that was proven from the previous week, and then I'd have 9 brand new minutes. And then by Monday, you have to rewrite everything from the previous day. On Monday, I'm throwing out a few minutes. So I have, let's say, 6 or 7 of the new minutes, and then 3 to 4 that I'm honing from the previous week. And then you're chopping down. eat like every day of the week, you're chopping a minute or 2 down.
Hmm.
By the end of the week, you have like 2 to 3 minutes that's like that's pretty good, and then you've also honed the material from the previous weeks as the week has gone on, instead of just looking at this 10 minutes and working on it for the entire month. It kind of keeps fresh blood in what you're doing.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does
And,
absolutely.
and it keeps that forward momentum, and it allows you to link things together, because when you're writing around the same uh, point in time, you're gonna think in ways that link different subjects. So I think it's important to do that, and it'll help you amass the material. So 2 other times, 3 other times I felt like I was propelled forward, and these are all in the early years. I worked with, Chappelle
Who?
when I was Dave Chappelle,
Oh, oh, oh! I'm sorry.
David, something Chappelle. Uh, I was maybe 2 years in, maybe a little less. No, I guess I was 2 years in, and we're doing, 5 shows together, and, he was going super long first night. So the second night they said, on the first show of the night, they were like, just do 10, because I was doing 25. They were like, just do 10 for the early show, because
Because he'll
he's
do
doing
5 hours.
exactly. So I arc my set for 10, but he's not there and I'm not getting a light. So I get a note on the stage. It's like, Dave's not here. Just keep going. We'll light you when he gets here. So Dave he wasn't doing this on
Oh,
purpose. He's a responsible guy. He just didn't know this show on the second night started 30 minutes later than the first night, and he thought I was doing 25. So anyway, I don't know when to end. I don't have a set list on stage because I thought I was doing like 10 minutes.
yep.
I'm just having to pull jokes out of my head with no concept of an arc to try to just fill time and then save a closer until I get the light. So anyway, I thought I was doing 10. I ended up doing 45. And it was this crowd, this audience. This is right after he left Chappelle's show. It was right when he came back from Africa.
Hmm.
It was like his first shows back. And yeah, so it was this hungry crowd, and it forced me to do 45. And that was a huge growth moment. And he talked to me about it after and stuff. And he was very right in saying that. He was telling me when he was telling me how hard it is to do it in front of that crowd, that resonated with me, and it helped me grow. And another time, it was a similar situation at Helium in Philly. I was working with Paul Mooney a couple years after that.
That's
Do you
right. I
remember this?
had to have seen you that week. Well, yeah, because we weren't roommates yet, but I knew you at the time. So,
Hmm.
so there's, I don't remember specifically, but there's no doubt in my mind I would have come to just hang out with you because that was my home club and you were in
Yeah,
town. So,
yeah. And I revered Paul Mooney. Before I did stand up, I went to the Improv to watch him. I was the white guy who sat in the front row. I was like, but he didn't pick on me. So I love the guy, and I was so excited to work with him. And on the second night, uh, I guess I'd done well the first night, so he had confidence in me or something. And it was Jeff, the manager there. He was like, "I'll light you when he gets here." I was supposed to be doing 25, 30. Mooney, I did an hour 5 opening for him,
Jesus Christ.
and it was like it was
Terrifying?
over. The thing is, it wasn't. It was a little terrifying in the moment with Chappelle, but I'd been there.
Exactly. So you already,
Yeah,
you
Chappelle
realize
put
it's
me
not
there,
the worst. And
and
dude,
then
and
Mooney
what
put
a,
me there, and then Mooney put me there, and it was like his crowd's older, um, and it was like it just made me feel like I could adapt to any situation. It was such a blessing that he put me in that position. And that's kind of what he said after, is like when he came in, he was like proud to see how well I was doing at an hour 5. And then another similar situation. It was like around that same time I did this college that was like apparently like a conservative Christian college, and like what's it, Moorhead, Minnesota, just across the river from Fargo. And I was like, oh Jesus Christ, this is gonna be awful. And ended up, to this day, one of my favorite shows I've ever done. I did almost an hour and a half, and I loved it. There were complaints though that I was filthy, but I
Oh my
still,
god.
but anyway, those are the moments that I was saying, like they happen like this. The growth moments happen like it seems like you're plotting, and then you just jump up,
And then
and then
something
you
happens, something gets
plod, and then
thrown
you
your way.
plod, and then you jump. Yeah.
Man, going back to two of the stories you told there, like I remember being a host, like well, in your position as well, hosting. Um, I remember just being in a position several times where go until you see the light just gives you crippling anxiety.
Yeah.
Like you have stomach pains, your back sweats immediately. Like you
Yeah.
don't, am I doing 5? Am I doing 12? Or am I doing 48? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no comic will tell you to go until you see the light, or no comic who is a writer will tell you that. Maybe someone who's like all performance might
Yeah.
tell you to go to the light, but no one who writes. I would never tell someone go to the light. That's like
even even like when I was I don't I was hosting or featuring, but I was hosting a show here or there. I hated doing time in between the feature and headliner because well, how
yeah,
much and if there's already momentum after the feature, I don't want to nosedive with a bit for a minute just to be like embarrassed and be like, "Are you guys ready to keep the
I
show
know.
going?" After I just killed it for a minute and a half or
Yeah,
whatever, and I mean not killed it with joke, like killed the show, like
yeah,
brought it to a screeching halt.
exactly. It's like, do you want to leave that taste of you in the audience's mouth? I never understood that forcing material on the crowd between comedy.
Exactly. So let me
That's what
ask
it
you.
feels like.
Let me ask you two things. So so you did two sets. First one was great. Second one you said was not as good. Then you took off for a year. When you did that third set for Aaron, did you do
Oh,
any material from the
I'll tell
first
you.
two shows, or were those two?
One or two, and two are jokes that you know. One of them I actually did a few months ago, uh, because like I was on the show where everyone was doing all this political stuff. I was like, I'm gonna do some jokes for my first show just to see if, and it killed. And actually I did it again last week. I had to do a virtual show. Yeah, and it's where I'm bringing a couple of these jokes back.
Oh man,
Yeah, there's a couple from my first show that are that are good jokes.
that's
Uh,
that's awesome, man.
so
I would rather get kicked in the stomach than hear shit I did in my first two sets. So
one of them is a joke that you know very well. It was about gay marriage, and it was about Rick Santorum saying, "If we let people of the same sex get married, next thing you know, people gonna want to marry animals and robots. Where do you
yes,
draw the line?" I'm like, I don't
yeah,
know. How about right before animals and robots?
okay.
And
Oh
then
man, I didn't realize that was that far back for you.
that was my first show. There's a bunch of other punches to that. There used to be a part where I then talk about biblical arguments. I didn't add that to like a year later, but I talked about the people who make biblical arguments against gay marriage. And then I don't know who did it, but my joke ended up verbatim on The Daily Show in 2007, and I had to stop doing it. I'd been doing it for 3 years.
Oh man.
The biblical parts showed up verbatim on The Daily Show. But and then the other one was about the war on drugs, which I don't know if you've heard this one, but the first, it's kind of a longer joke, but the first part it was like war on drugs doesn't make sense because it's based on made up stats to make you think that marijuana is a gateway to other drugs. Like I heard someone say 95% of people who smoke crack also smoke marijuana. Like, well, that's obviously made up because crackheads don't take surveys. And
I absolutely have heard you do that.
yeah, and then there's a bunch more to it, but uh,
So we've been buddies for a long time, and I got to say, I do have a favorite joke of yours, and
was it?
the one about me. That's all.
It does, it's that joke stopped working somehow. I think it's
That's not my fault.
I know. I think maybe I lost its energy, or you know what it is. You know, it works, but the end doesn't hit as hard as I want it to end, and I have that thing in my head that's like I forget that the joke doesn't have to end as strong as it was the whole time. Like you don't have to end on the biggest laugh. You want to ramp up all the time, but not everything works like that. And I
Yeah,
got to remind myself of that.
it's so funny because I actually forgot about that joke for a long time, and then I actually listened to your album about a month or 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I
Yeah.
heard that joke, and I totally forgot about it. And I remember the walk back from CVS to our apartment was only like a block and a half or 2 blocks, and that's all you kept talking about was that story.
You couldn't.
I vividly remember that walk back to our
You,
apartment because
yeah.
you just thought it was me, and I was nowhere to be found.
It was it was the most. I don't get embarrassed, but that was embarrassed. So, guys, it's on my album "Live from an Old Prison." It's on all those sites,
Yep.
and it's
Well,
this. I think it's called CVS, right? That's the name of the track. I
I don't
opened the album on it.
I don't remember the
I'll
exact
story about
track,
that.
but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called CVS. It's the first, definitely the first track. I open a story about your guys' favorite comic and mine, Pat House, and
Thank you.
it was horrific. And the true story, there's so many more worse parts of that that I left out of the stage part because it's too horrific. The things
Oh
I
my
said to
god,
this
I love
stranger.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
God, I said terrible things to this stranger.
And that makes me so happy. All right, dude. Thank you for being a part of this. Plug anything you want. You want to plug your albums or any upcoming
It's
shows you have?
It's so fucked because, like, I had a busy schedule, but then you can't travel, and I'm
I know.
recording a new album next year, whenever people stop dying at an alarming rate. I'm gonna be doing a lot of cities on the road next year as soon as that stops happening. Apparently, I'm doing a taping in Utah next week, or in November. I'm doing, like, a taping on a Saturday. If you ever heard of Dry Bar,
Dry Bar. Yeah.
I'm doing one of those, so I'm excited to do it's gonna be my first time on stage in 6 months.
Congrats, man. That's awesome. Nothing like taking a breather for 6 months and then filming a special.
That's what I think it might have crazy
It's gonna be
energy.
called Rusty
I
as
think
fuck.
I think it's gonna be called Rust. That's the thing. It's either gonna be horrific or it's gonna have, like, crazy, like, you know, you know, what's it called? Tabula rasa, you know what I mean? Just like blank slate. I don't know. It's gonna go one of 2 ways, that's for sure. But I'm excited for it,
Well,
and I'm
that's
doing that
awesome,
album.
man.
Yeah, if people just check, I mean, I don't really use social media much, but I'm a RC Comedy on Twitter, Ryan Connor 1 on Instagram. I got their shit on the iTunes, and my website's ryanconnorcomedy.com, and I'll update my schedule there.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, please check it out and then check out the new Dry Bar. They do, man. They've done a lot of great specials, so I'm glad you got one, man. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you, and hopefully any dates next year where you aren't already headlining or working with Dan, yeah, I'd love to have you on
Let's
those dates,
let's
all
hop
of them.
let's hop on the road together, man. Absolutely. All
I
right.
love it.
Ryan Connor, thank you guys. You can't hear
Hey,
them, but there's dozens of people applauding right now.
thank you, Pat. It's a
Dozens.
pleasure. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely, man.
Great to see your
we'll
face
definitely
in
talk
this
soon.
hard time.
Yeah. Thanks for getting me through it.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.